In America, nearly 70% of all divorces are initiated by women. For college-educated couples, that number climbs to a staggering 90%. Meanwhile, 78% of women state that a man having a steady job is very important in a partner, compared to just 46% of men who say the same about women. These are not just statistics. They are echoes of a silent truth. A truth about a game being played with rules that are unspoken, unwritten, yet ruthlessly enforced. What drives this dynamic? What ancient logic operates beneath the surface of modern relationships, leading to such a predictable outcome? This isn't a question meant to make you bitter. It is not a seed for cynicism. This is a question meant to wake you up. Long before modern psychology tried to name these forces, the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer saw through the veil. He didn't come to offer comfort or easy answers, but a cold, hard, and illuminating clarity. Today, we journey into that painful clarity. We will explore the hidden reasons why women, by instinct, may use men. Not because they are cruel, but because they are programmed by a logic far more ancient and powerful than the fairy tales we are told. This is not an attack, it is a dissection. Using Schopenhauer's insights as our scalpel and modern data as the body, we will journey into darkness not to get lost, but to find the strength that comes from seeing reality, no matter how brutal. Let's begin. Modern culture tells a man, be softer, be more vulnerable, be available, be expressive, be open, give without limit. This is the path to true love, they say, but there is a cruel secret nobody warns him about. The moment he does, something changes. A subtle shift in the air, a cooling in her gaze. The very things he offers, stability, affection, consistency, are no longer seen as gifts. They become the baseline, an expectation. They are no longer cherished additions, but assumed entitlements. And eventually, they are devalued. What was once special becomes common, and what is common is never treasured. Schopenhauer knew this. He saw what others refused to see. That relationships are not built on fairness or pure affection. They are built on silent negotiations of power and utility. It's not what you feel, it's what you're worth. It's not who you are, it's what you provide. This isn't an outdated theory. Look at the data. A comprehensive 2123 Pew Research Center study on dating preferences found that while both genders value honesty and kindness, there's a stark divergence. For 78% of women, having a partner with a steady job is very important. For men, that number is only 46%. A 2020 study in evolutionary psychological science confirmed this on a global scale, finding that women consistently prioritize a partner's financial prospects far more than men do. Schopenhauer would call this evidence of instinctive logic. It isn't greed in the way we typically think of it. It's a survival strategy honed over millennia, a deeply ingrained software that runs silently in the background. It is the cold calculus of nature. A man believes he is building trust, intimacy, a future. He lays each brick with care. But what he is really doing is paying with his time, his attention, his protection, and his status. In the eyes of survival instinct, these are not gifts. They are the baseline, the minimum price of entry. And once he stops paying, whether through fatigue, failure, or just a moment of vulnerability, the balance shifts. She begins to reassess. Her instinct, that ancient calculator, kicks in. The illusion starts to crack. The warmth recedes. The tragedy is, most men never know the transaction took place. They think they were chosen for who they are, for their heart, their honesty, their commitment. But that's not what was being evaluated. They were measured for their usefulness, and they were used accordingly. To be needed is not the same as to be loved. To be useful is not the same as to be cherished. And until a man understands the difference, he will keep paying blindly until he has nothing left to give. In the modern world, a man's attention is the new currency, and it's being drained every day without him realizing it, not by force, but by smiles, glances, and subtle cues designed to extract value while giving nothing in return. A woman doesn't need to want you to want what you give. She just needs you to look, to chase, to offer your time and focus. That alone is a form of power. Your attention validates her. It reassures her of her value in the social marketplace. It confirms she still has control. It is a form of tribute that costs her nothing to receive. This is amplified to an extreme on dating apps. Data analysis from apps like Hinge and Tinder consistently reveals a stark imbalance. Men, on average, like over 60% of the profiles they see. Women like less than 5%. This creates a system where a woman's attention is a scarce commodity, a precious resource, and a man's is an abundant, cheap, and ultimately disposable one. He is taught to pursue, to prove himself, to keep showing up, texting, complimenting, hoping. But he doesn't realize he's playing a rigged game. He is a single soldier trying to storm a fortress that has 1,000 other soldiers already at the gate. His attention is being harvested, not reciprocated. It's treated like an endless resource, something disposable, something cheap. Schopenhauer didn't write about Instagram, but he understood the principle. That which is given too easily is never respected. The man who learns to protect his gaze, who treats his time and focus like they matter, is the one who reclaims power. He stops being a passive consumer in the attention economy and becomes a selective investor. He understands his focus is finite and valuable. Until then, he remains a tool. Not seen, not chosen, just used. A man is told to open up, be honest, show emotion. He's told that vulnerability is strength, that women want depth, not just a surface. So he listens, he lowers the armor, he speaks from the heart. He reveals his fears, his doubts, his struggles. He shows her the cracks in his foundation, and slowly, without realizing it, he begins to dissolve in her eyes. She doesn't attack him. She doesn't walk away immediately. But something changes. The air shifts. The admiration dulls. The attraction fades. A subtle look of disappointment, or worse, pity, replaces respect. What was once seen as stoic and dependable now feels exposed and weak. Not because she hates his vulnerability, but because nature does. Schopenhauer understood that human desire is not shaped by ideals. It is shaped by instinct. A woman may say she wants openness, but her biology is watching for something else. Strength, control, certainty. A study from the University of British Columbia found this in stark terms. Women consistently rated men who looked proud and moody as more sexually attractive than men who looked happy. The reverse was true for men rating women. Happiness was attractive, pride was not. This suggests a primal attraction to signals of dominance and resilience, not emotional confession. When a man bleeds emotionally, something ancient in her recoils, not out of cruelty, but out of survival. Women seek protection, not a project. They are wired to find the man who can carry the weight, not the one collapsing under it. His weakness signals a potential threat to her own security. This is the brutal paradox. The man who hides his pain is seen as distant. The one who reveals it is seen as fragile. Either way, he loses, unless he understands the game. Real strength isn't loud. It's not about pretending. It's about control, not of others, but of himself. When a man masters his silence, not out of fear, but out of discipline, he becomes what women claim they want, but rarely understand. Dependable without being dependent. Open without spilling over. Present without begging. She may ask for your truth, but what she truly respects is your restraint. In most arenas of life, power comes with a price: accountability. To lead, to decide, to have influence, you must bear the weight of consequence. But women, Schopenhauer would argue, often possess a form of power that escapes this burden entirely. It is not tied to authority or action. It is embedded in suggestion, presence, and emotional leverage. And unlike male power, it is rarely questioned and almost always invisible. A man who fails is held to account. He must explain, rebuild, and prove his worth all over again. But when a woman's decisions lead to chaos or heartbreak, the blame often drifts elsewhere. The narrative bends, circumstances are invoked, emotion becomes justification. "I had to do what was right for me" becomes a shield against any inquiry into the collateral damage. Consider the data on divorce. Studies published in journals like the American Law and Economics Review and confirmed by the American Sociological Association show a consistent trend. Women initiate roughly 70% of all divorces in the United States. Among college-educated couples, that number climbs as high as 90%. Schopenhauer would not see this merely as a search for happiness. He would see it as an executive decision, the cold, pragmatic cutting of an asset that is no longer providing an optimal return. And society rarely demands an explanation for this decision, framing it instead as an act of personal empowerment. The same society that demands stoicism from men offers shelter to women. Male power is direct, and so it is feared and resisted. Female power is elusive, and so it is underestimated. But what is unseen can be more dangerous than what is declared. A whisper can steer a decision. A tear can stop an argument. A retreat into victimhood can shield someone from judgment, even when they held the match that lit the fire. This is not about blame. This is about clarity. When power moves in shadows, it escapes scrutiny. When it wears the mask of vulnerability, it is never held responsible. And men are left to navigate a world where the rules only seem to apply in one direction. For all the talk of love, equality, and shared purpose, Schopenhauer saw a far darker undercurrent. He did not believe men and women were meant to complete each other, nor that they were designed to coexist in perfect harmony. Instead, he viewed their connection as fundamentally antagonistic, two forces with conflicting instincts, drawn together by biology, but locked in a quiet war of interests. What appears as unity is often just a temporary truce, a convenient alliance against the outside world that dissolves when internal pressures rise. For Schopenhauer, nature does not care about happiness, it only cares about function. And the function of man and woman is not emotional peace, but reproduction, protection, and the continuation of the species. Everything else, romance, compatibility, shared dreams, is theater. A beautiful, sometimes convincing, but ultimately hollow performance. Men seek freedom, expansion, and legacy. They want to build, to explore, to leave a mark on the world that will outlast them. Women seek security, control, and presence. They want to build a safe, stable nest, to manage the immediate environment, and to secure resources for themselves and their offspring. These goals do not align. They collide. They are fundamentally at odds, and what keeps them tethered to each other is not love, but necessity, a biological and social interdependence. Behind the illusion of partnership lies competition for influence, for direction, for meaning. A man gives up his mission to please a woman, and he feels a slow, creeping resentment, a sense of his own spirit dying. A woman gives up her needs to support a man's purpose, and she feels neglected and unseen. Both walk away feeling used. Neither gets what they truly wanted. And yet they return to each other, again and again, not out of understanding, but because nature pulls them back. Harmony, Schopenhauer believed, is not the default. It is a brief pause between opposing currents, a mirage that fades the moment pressure returns. The mistake is believing that peace was ever the point. It wasn't. The truth is harsher. Men and women are not mirrors of each other, nor puzzle pieces. They are rivals under the surface, partners only when it serves them, and strangers once the illusion wears thin. The war never ends. It only changes form. So, what do we do with this harsh truth? Do we become bitter? Cynical? Do we lose all faith? Do we build walls around our hearts? No. That would be to misunderstand Schopenhauer's message. That is the reaction of a victim. His clarity is not an invitation to despair. It is an invitation to power. True, sovereign power. Real power doesn't come from changing others. It comes from understanding them so completely that their actions no longer have the power to surprise or wound you. Power comes from recognizing that your approval has value. Your attention is a resource. Your commitment is an investment. And you get to choose where you place them, with the wisdom of a seasoned investor, not the blind hope of a gambler. The only freedom a man can hope to achieve is not in winning the war, but in realizing he is in one. To understand the rules, to guard his focus, and to learn to value himself not by another's approval, but by his own integrity. When you stop paying for love and start building value from within, when you stop seeking validation and start living on your own terms, according to your own mission, the entire dynamic shifts. You are no longer reacting, you are acting. You are no longer a player in someone else's game. You begin to create your own. And that, in the end, is where real freedom is found.